Venusianscorp Astrology and Tarot, where I talk about all things astrology and tarot. Today, we are going to be talking about the shadow side of Venus and Scorpio. This has been a video that I've been planning for a long time, but I really didn't get around to it because it requires a lot of energy and effort to actually do the research on it. And I don't mean just looking up Google for it, because anybody can do that. Like, you could check out Google and find out for yourself, but this is based on personal experience, based on my own interaction with other Venus and Scorpios. So the way I'm going to be structuring this video is based on each sun sign. So there are 5 sun signs that can possibly have a Venus and Scorpio. So either they can be a Virgo sun, they could be a Libra sun, a Scorpio sun, Sagittarius sun, or a Capricorn sun. One of these 5 sun signs with a Venus and Scorpio. So I'm going to be talking about each of these placements, and let's do a deep dive. As always, if you'd like to book a reading with me, you can drop me a message on email. The link is in the description box. So you can contact me for a natal chart reading, a birth chart reading, a synastry chart reading, which is basically a relationship compatibility, or you can contact me for a tarot session. I'm also doing counseling sessions right now, so you can contact me for that as well if you're interested. Okay, so let's get started. So let's talk about Venus and Scorpio and the shadow side of each sun sign, right? So, right off the bat, the first thing that I want to mention, even before I do a deep dive into each of these sun signs, I do want to mention that when we talk about the shadow side of Venus and Scorpios, all of these traits are under the surface because it's subterranean. It's Scorpio we're talking about. It's not going to be that easily obvious, r- Please remember, this is Scorpio we're talking about. So there is a tremendous amount of self restraint with this sign. You won't find Venus and Scorpio displaying their shadow side very obviously in an outward manner. So the thing about this is, if you are heavily Plutonian yourself, or if you've got a lot of heavy Scorpio energy in your chart, then yes, you might be able to easily pick up on these traits, because, like I said, a lot of this is happening at the subconscious level. It's not going to be readily obvious to a lot of people, to most people, in fact. And like, if you're heavily Plutonian or have a lot of Scorpio energy going on in your chart, yes, then you can notice these signs, you can pick up on these traits, and you can really pinpoint what the other person is all about. But again, like I said, the shadow side doesn't really show up in every Venus in Scorpio, but it does happen because some Venus and Scorpios are just really good at hiding it. Like, you would never even know or be able to guess that they have a shadow side to them. Uh, and again, because it's Scorpio, we're talking about, the allure of the shadow side can be so strong that unless a Venus in Scorpio is self aware, and they're actually conscious around this, that they have a shadow side, and if it's not kept in check, then there is a very strong danger of crossing over to the other side, where they kind of succumb to the shadow side and they become another version of themselves, which is not what they really want to be. So there is a lot of self-awareness that's required. If you are a Venus in Scorpio, you need to know where your shadow side lies, and when you're crossing over, so that you can keep it in check and you don't let it happen, right? So let's talk about the first sun sign, which is Virgo. Now, when you have a Virgo sun sign with the Venus in Scorpio, there is going to be an element of self criticism or self flagellation involved. Virgos with the Venus in Scorpio tend to be very self critical on themselves. Like, they're very harsh on themselves. They can often, and the result of that is, like, a subcomponent of that is, they can take themselves way too seriously, and that is not always a very healthy thing to practice. Like, they could be the kind of person who works out a lot to the point where it's even detrimental to their health. They could take nutrition very seriously to the point where they are counting every single calorie, all the macros, everything, to the point where, again, it just consumes their reality. There could be a sense, quite a bit of OCD with this particular combination, like a Virgo sun sign and a Venus in Scorpio, because it's ruled by Mercury, right? Mercury is about the details, and it's the ruler of the sixth house, which is your daily routine, your daily activities. It's also health and fitness. That's a very sixth house area. So Like these people could be very consumed by these things. They could be consumed by even mundane tasks. Like I said, OCD is a very big thing with this combination. They could be so consumed with daily habits, or like putting things in their right place. Organization, that's so Virgo, right? Like tidying up, organizing, that could consume their daily life to the point where they almost may relegate other important tasks to the background, because this is consuming so much of their life, right? And the thing about Virgo sun signs with Venus and Scorpios is, because they're so self critical, there is a degree of self hate as well. They may not like a certain aspect of themselves, and especially to do with the way they look, because this is Venus we're talking about. Venus has a lot to do with appearance and aesthetic. So a Virgo sun sign with a Venus in Scorpio, they could be like literally the most conventionally attractive person in the room. Like they could be the most gorgeous person, excuse me, that you've ever laid your eyes on, but then they have a side to them that literally hates themselves. Like they don't like the way they look, or they don't like the way a certain aspect of them looks, and they could be constantly searching for perfection in this area, which is like a never ending journey, right? Like perfection really doesn't exist. It's a mirage. And so the more these people chase it, the more they just feel like a hamster on a wheel going nowhere, but they're just always consumed by this quest for perfection, and that's one of the main shadow areas that a Virgo sun sign and Venus in Scorpio could see themselves in, where it's just a constant quest for perfection, whether that's in their appearance, whether that's in their health, fitness, nutrition. They could pick an area of their life and make it like a self improvement project. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with self improvement. Absolutely, everybody should strive to be a better version of themselves. But the thing is, when it becomes, there is a very fine line where it could become sort of an obsession with that tendency, where if they're not careful, it could easily cross over into OCD. It could easily consume their daily existence. And so that's something that they need to be a little bit careful about. Let's move on to Scorpio sun signs who have a Venus in Scorpio. Now, this is like a double dose of the Scorpio energy, because they not only have their sun, which is the ego, in Scorpio, but they also have their Venus, which is about aesthetic attraction, money, finances, and all of that in Scorpio as well. Now, here the tendency is they could be so involved in research, in understanding other people's motivations, other people's psyche, because it's Scorpio, right? It's psychology we're talking about, and it's Pluto, which is also about control and thriving on crisis, chaos, things like that. A Scorpio sun with a Venus in Scorpio could be so immersed in these subjects that they could be staring into the abyss for so long that they eventually get lost in their shadow. By that, what I mean by that is they could fall into the pit real easily if they're not careful. They could dig so deep to find something, to find the truth about something or a person or life itself, right? Like the quest for truth. It could be so strong in a Scorpio sun with a Venus in Scorpio that they end up falling into the pit and they really don't recover from it, or they don't really come up for air very often. And so this may look like someone who could be a bit of a recluse. They could not be a very social person. They could have a dark side to them that a lot of people are not aware of, because again, this is Scorpio, so they're very good at hiding it. There could be control issues with this person, because again, Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto, so both are very like assertive, aggressive energies. They want to be in control. Um so there is a lot of things that you won't see, like it's not going to be obviously like outwardly obvious in this person, but internally there may be a lot of struggles this person goes through on a day-to-day basis, because it's Scorpio. It's a double dose of water energy, and it's very intense, extreme water energy. So they could be just like Virgo. There could also be a lot of self criticism involved with this combination. They could be very, very harsh on themselves. With all Venus and Scorpios, I've noticed that they tend to feel a little bit bad about themselves. Like there is like almost like they're tainted with something, or they're not good enough, or they're not worthy enough for something. There's always that quality with the Venus and Scorpio that I've noticed, sort of like a fallen angel quality, and that's across the board. Like you could be any sun sign with a Venus and Scorpio, but that's something that I've noticed across the board. They don't really feel like they are their optimal level, or they don't really feel like they're their best. They always feel like something is wrong with them. And with this Scorpio sun, who also has a Venus in Scorpio, this could be even more pronounced. They could feel like there's just something amiss. And they want to know what is amiss, so they do a lot of research. They do a lot of self reflection. That's another thing about this combination. They are very self reflective. They do a lot of introspection about themselves. There's a lot of self awareness going on with this sign, and the thing about that is it is a double-sided sword. The more self-aware a person is, the more fault they're going to find in themselves. And so it's like a hole that you keep digging and digging, and then there's no end to it, right? You got to come out of that hole at some point. You have to stop digging at some point, and you have to sort of be at acceptance with whatever you have going on. You can't always be doing shadow work throughout your whole life, because that's just a never ending journey. So at some point it's got to stop, because then you forget to breathe, you forget to have air in your life, you forget to look at what's going on around you, because you're so stuck in the underground, right? So if that makes sense, I mean, guys, if this makes sense, please comment below, because I'm just putting my thoughts out here based on my interactions and what I've seen with other Venus and Scorpios. So yeah, so that's a bit about the Scorpio sun, who also has a Venus in Scorpio. Now let's talk about Libra. I'm not going in sequence exactly, but yeah, let's talk about Libra sun. So if you have like a Libra sun with a Venus in Scorpio, oh, this is such a complex placement, because Libra, like Venus and Libra is really good. It's very much in harmony. And if you have a Libra sun with the Venus in Scorpio, it's a you have both sides of Venus to you. So there's one side of you which is all about the superficial side of Venus, right? Like the beauty element, the fine things of life, like the finer things of life, the aesthetic side of life. Everything has to look pretty, everything has to look good. You have to look good, your partner has to look good. All of the aesthetic that Venus is associated with. And then there is the Venus and Scorpio side, which wants something deep and meaningful, something raw, something that's actually meaty, something that actually makes sense, that feeds you. Um, so when you have a Libra Sun and Venus in Scorpio, there can be a constant quest for perfection and beauty. I've noticed this especially in a lot of the men who have a Libra Sun with the Venus in Scorpio. They will go like the extra mile to look really good, or like grooming is a very very important part of their ritual. Like they even want their partners to look a certain way. And the thing about that is that quest for perfection can be so precise. Like they want a particular partner who looks a certain way. They may have a particular type that they're looking for, and they definitely want a partner who makes them look good. But they can't overshadow them. That's the thing about the Libra sun with the Venus in Scorpio. It is a vain placement. Libras are vain. It is ruled by Venus. They do take their appearance very seriously. They always want to look good. So they want a partner who looks good but not better than them, if that makes sense. It has to be complementary. Like when they walk into the room, they want themselves and their partner, like both of them, to look as a couple. Like people go, wow, it looks like they descended from the gods. It has to be like that kind of energy. They need to feel like everyone is in awe of them, especially combined with the Venus and Scorpio placement. There is a need for being put on a pedestal. Like they want to be worshipped, they want to be looked at as something outwardly, like otherworldly, like something that's descended from the ether. um yeah, so that quest for perfection can be a little too much sometimes. Like they can be even on themselves, like they can have that constant quest to always look good at all times or always be worshipped for their looks, it's very, there is a vain superficial element to Libra, and that can come across in the shadow side, especially with the Venus in Scorpio. But then there's an other side of the Venus in Scorpio which always wants that depth, right? Like that emotional depth and the mystery and the challenge and all of that. And so if they're too caught up in the Libra side of things, which is a little bit superficial, they can lose out on a lot of opportunities because they don't pay attention to the other side. Like for example, they could find a partner who's really good looking, right? And but they may not have the degree of emotional depth that they really need to feed them in a relationship. And so they may settle for someone who's aesthetically very pleasing, but they may not really feed them emotionally or like with the depth that they're looking for in the relationship. So they may miss out on a lot of opportunities in romance and relationships if they're not really careful, and if they're only chasing the superficial side. um, that's what I see with Libras, with Venus and Another thing that I wanted to mention about the Libra suns who have a Venus in Scorpio is they are the master chameleons of the zodiac. And I mean that really seriously, because the thing with Libra suns is that they're so focused on the aesthetic side, like the beauty side of Venus. And they've also got a Venus in Scorpio, so they already see through the human psyche. They already know what their partner is all about. They can become the partner that you want them to be. Like I've seen this with so many Libra suns who have a Venus in Scorpio. They literally change up their aesthetic based on who they're with. Like they're going to change up their dressing sense. They're going to change up their whole vibe based on the person they're dating. And this is kind of scary as well, because it's not even just like they change up their outfits, it's their energy. Like they literally switch up their energy based on who they're with. And if you're not careful, like especially if these people have a Mars in Scorpio as well, or like they're heavily Plutonian, oh boy, they're gonna they already see through you. They know exactly what you want in a partner, and they will become that person, and you're gonna think like you've met your dream match. And so if you're not heavily Plutonian yourself, if you don't have heavy Scorpio energy, you may not be able to see through that. So be a little bit careful about that. That's what I'm trying to say. Scorpio, let's talk about Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius, the symbol is a centaur. It is a half beast, half human. And yes, while Sagittarius has the arrow pointed upwards towards the sky, they're always looking forward. They're always looking towards the light. They don't really look towards the shadow side that much, but that's the thing. They can have a very strong blind spot when it comes to their own shadow side, and that is Sagittarius Sun with the Venus in Scorpio could have a very strong streak of cruelty in them. And I say this not lightly at all, because I've seen this in a lot of Sagittarians. Thing is, a lot of people feel like Sagittarius Suns, because it's ruled by Jupiter, it's all like peace and happiness and the life of the party, and it's all about fun and laughter and games. It's kind of like unicorn energy. But the thing is, because it is the centaur, and there is a lot of mythology associated with the centaur. And because Sagittarius suns have that sort of half beast, half human quality to them, and when we're talking about Venus and Scorpio combined with this energy, and they realize their power that they have over other people because it's Venus and Scorpio, they realize the allure that they have when it comes to attracting people to them. They can have a very dismissive quality to them, a very flippant nature to them. If they're not careful, there is a cold, cruel side to Sagittarians who have a Venus in Scorpio, where, once their purpose is served from a partner, they can even dismiss or discard the other person. So there can be a bit of an inhuman quality sometimes to them. And you won't see this coming a lot of the times. Like, even they may not be realizing that they have this blind spot to them, or they have this shadow side to them, because they feel like they are Jupiterian, right? Like it's just focused on love, light, and all the good things of life. which is true. Like I said, the shadow side doesn't always manifest in every single Venus in Scorpio, but it is there. It is dormant. That's why it is a shadow side. And so, if they're not careful, sometimes this streak can come out, and it can be very cruel to the other person or like to their partner if they're not careful. So, like I said, they could be very dismissive of other people in general. Like if they're not getting their needs met, they could just cut them off, right? Like they could just cut them off like they don't even matter. And that's the thing, you will not realize that a person who has a Sagittarius sun with a Venus in Scorpio could act this way. You wouldn't even think that they can act this way because they're always so, usually they're very cheerful, they're very uplifting, like they like to uplift other people. And so when you see this side of them, it's almost like some other person. It doesn't even feel like the same person. So this could sometimes manifest. I'm really saying this very truthfully. I've seen this happen in a lot of other Venus and Scorpios who have the Sagittarius sun. They could behave this way as well. So that's something to really, really keep in mind, because that human quality is very, very important to have in this lifetime. We can't discard it. We can't, like, you can't turn into something else or someone else. So you have to be very, very careful and be very sure that you're not crossing over, be very, very mindful of how you are interacting with other people or how you treat other people in your life. So being human is very, very essential. It's a core part of our existence. It's what makes us human. That's a little bit about Sagittarius sun with Venus and Scorpio. Let's talk about Capricorn. Capricorn, a lot of control issues with this combination. Like if you've got a Capricorn sun with a Venus and Scorpio, there's going to be a lot of control issues internally and externally. So you want to control yourself, you want to control your partner, you want to control the dynamics in the relationship. Even if you don't express it outwardly, it is going to come out in some way or the other. Again, it's Scorpio, so it's Pluto and Mars we're talking about, plus it's Capricorn, it's boss energy, CEO energy. It always wants to be the one in charge, the one in authority. And because of that, sometimes relationships can feel suffocating for your partner if you're not careful. Like if you're doing too much of this whole dominating thing and always wanting to be the boss and always wanting to control every single thing, it can be really suffocating for your partner. And they may express it to you. And if you are not mindful of that, or if you don't see how you're manifesting that in your relationship, then that could easily turn into a breakup if you're not careful. So you have to be mindful of that. Like Capricorn is very much a leader. They are very, very good in leadership roles. But sometimes in partnerships, it's not about a boss and a subordinate. You have to stop treating partners like that. They're not your subordinates, they don't work for you. It is a partnership, it is a relationship. So seeing a relationship exactly like that is something that's going to be very important for Capricorns to realize in the relationship. um what else do we have for Capricorn? See, the thing about Capricorn is it's ruled by Saturn as well. And Saturn is about delays and restrictions. So when it comes to love, when it comes to relationships, they can sometimes feel like uh, they don't really get what they want. There's a lot of delay associated with it. They don't really get what they want. It takes a lot of time. They always feel like they have to earn their love. Again, like I said, there's a lot of control issues going on internally. They don't feel good about themselves. They always feel like they have to earn their partner's love. Like it's not freely given. So that's another way that the shadow side can manifest. Now, let's talk a little bit about the overall energy of the shadow side, right? So, the overall tendency for Venus in Scorpio sometimes is there can be a very strong tendency to self destruct if they're not careful. What I mean by that is because it's Scorpio and because it's ruled by Mars and Pluto likes to dive deep, right? It likes to thrive on crisis and chaos and then transform through that. It's sort of like the phoenix rising from the ashes, that kind of energy. But doing that too many times is not healthy. Like that tendency to always dive deep into the fire and see how strong you come out of it, that is the tendency to self destruct. That's what I'm talking about here. And that is very strong in Venus and Scorpios. Even those who have Mars in Scorpios or those who have very strong Scorpio placements, sense, that tendency is very strong. It doesn't always have to be in conventional ways, like that tendency to self destruct. It doesn't have to always be through like escapism and things like that, or substances or things like that. It could just be even other ways, like not realizing your potential, wasting away your life, things like that. That could also manifest in other ways. And so if you're not aware of that, and if you're not keeping those tendencies in check, then it can easily spiral and descend into a really bad journey that you don't want. So, one of the ways to do that is to keep yourself grounded in Taurian activities that keep your head above the ground, right? Like that keep you rooted in reality. That's very important, because you need to stay grounded in reality for you to be able to function properly and not go into that self destructive tendency. Now, the other thing I would like to talk about, the second thing when it comes to the overall tendencies, like the shadow side, is there is a sense of idealized love or partnership with a Venus in Scorpio, where they have this idealized notion of what love needs to look like, what a relationship needs to look like, what a partnership needs to look like. And that can manifest in ways where you expect too much from your partnership, too much from your partner, too much from your relationship, rather than accepting what's the reality, right? You can expect your partner to be a version of themselves that it's like an impossible version to achieve, like they just cannot get there. And so it can lead to a sense of frustration in relationships where you always feel like you're not getting what you want, when the fact is that if you just focus on the reality and accept your partner for who they are, you will be in a much happier, better space. The third thing that I want to talk about overall when it comes to the shadow side is there can be serious trust issues with Venus and Scorpios, where, they're so afraid to open up to their partner. They're so afraid to trust and be vulnerable with a partner, that, there is forever, or like this lifelong fear, almost like Nine of Wands energy, almost like this lifelong fear that the others are about to get them, or the others are about to like betray their trust. Yes, maybe, Venus and Scorpio may have gone through some trust betrayals at some point, when they were like a child or like early on in life, but that doesn't mean they carry this energy throughout their life. Not everybody is out to get them, not everybody has ulterior motives. And the thing about this is, the more you think that way, the more you're going to manifest it, because what you focus on grows. So the more you think that other people are about to get you, that's exactly what you're going to manifest. So you need to stop thinking that way, and stop thinking the worst of people. Start giving people a little bit of benefit of the doubt, because not everyone is bad, not everyone is out to get you, and things can really be nice in a relationship, for a change. So it's time to like turn the tables a little bit and look at the brighter side of life, because not everything is all about digging and finding some, hidden motives, and always trying to figure out what the other person is up to. Because the more you do that, that's exactly what you're going to find, right? So, and I'm saying this as a Venus and Scorpio myself, no shade here at all. Like I am willing to look at myself as well when I speak about these things, because you have to be self-aware to be able to talk about it and own up to it and say that yes, there are these things, and you need to like look at the lighter side of life sometimes as well. So that's what I have for you. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up, comment in the comment box below. I love reading your comments, love interacting with you guys. And yeah, if you'd like to drop a message, if you want to contact me for a reading, definitely contact me and I will get back to you soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.